podcast. My name is Mario Quinn, and I'm the founder and executive director of Level Up Studios. And I'm the project coordinator for the Creative Learning Transformative Evaluation, a project conducted by the University of Pittsburgh School of Education in partnership with the Heinz Endowments. On this podcast, we interview various creative learning organizations about their programs and their impact with youth and teaching artists. And today I'm really excited because we're joined by the very wonderful folks at Assemble. Assemble is a community space for art and technology right here along the Penn Ave corridor. So I'm really excited for today's episode. We're joined by one of Assemble's teaching artists and two of their youth participants. So I'm sure we're going to have a really good conversation about their experiences in the program, and I'm really excited. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our very first guest, Samir Gangwani. Samir, how are you today?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Hey, I'm doing really good. So for the folks out there who might not know what exactly Assemble does here in the community, can you just explain what Assemble does and explain your involvement in the program?
Yeah, so Assemble is a space located in Garfield, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We're a community space where we work with all sorts of artists, makers, and that really is open to like everyone, like technologists, engineers, really just learners.
Mm-hmm.
And we try to get people from the neighborhood to come in and share their crafts with our students of all ages. We primarily work with like K through 12, but we also have like 21 plus nights and some other programs for adults as well. So our main like motto is that we want to build confidence through making. We believe everyone's a maker. You just have to show them that they are or get them to believe in themselves. So yeah, my role is I'm the monthly programs coordinator and STEAM teacher at Assemble. So I am one of the people who's in charge of, I guess, essentially like curating a lot of the guest artists that come through our space. So the main programs I work on are our Unblurred Showcase. So every month we have a resident artist in our space. I help install and book those artists and work with them to build their vision. Along with our Crafternoons program, which is a weekly program that is for, I would say, like 5 to 11-year-olds. And that program, we have a different guest maker every week to share their craft, like I said before, but with that specific age group. And I also run Hack the Future, which is some of my students are here today. We don't usually say students in Hack the Future. We usually say like mentors or like mentees because it is a mentorship program. And Hack the Future, I'll just give you the little, I guess, blurb about it. It's a social justice and innovation focused program for students in high school. So they actually get paid to learn, and they learn about kind of like the latest technologies and a lot of the untold histories of LGBTQIA issues and social justice issues, as well as like leaders in those movements. So yeah, a lot of what we've been going over this year is actually like so we usually work towards a final project. This year, our final project is around game design. So the students or our mentors or mentees are able to build a project around their specific interest around, say, a social justice issue, but actually create a game that can discuss this. So that really spans also from like board games and like video games. So like actually yesterday we had a class on Unity, which is like a 3D animation software. But at the beginning of the year, we actually started with like weaving and knitting because computers were actually a lot of the code and stuff is based on knitting and weaving. We actually use like binary weaving to create. So yeah, we kind of try to span through a bunch of different tools and give it to them to be able to make their own project of that.
That is amazing. That was a lot
to digest.
And hats off to you. It seems like you play so many roles at Assemble, but I just wanted to make a few points. I really love the phrase you said. You said confidence through making. I think that's so important. It's like we use the tool of art to help young people, express themselves, be themselves, and that helps build their confidence for things that they can do in regular life. And so I think that's really amazing. I love all the work you and Nina and everybody there does. And then the second point that I really like is using play as a way of learning. It's like when we were young kids, it's like that's what we did. We got our hands dirty. We experimented with things. We might have got hurt. We might have bumped ourselves, but we still learned through those games. So gamifying is definitely something that's really cool, and something that me as a teaching artist that I've been looking as a tool to use. So that's really, really amazing stuff. Seriously. So I would love to hear from some of our young people that we have on the call. We have Vivica Lawson and Leo Goldberg. How are you two doing today? Good.
Yeah, how's it going?
Good.
Doing good.
Doing great.
Yeah, I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Well, thank you both for joining us. I just would like to know, how did you get involved with the program? Vivica, you can start.
Well, I started going to Assemble, I want to say in the 3rd grade with their after-school programs.
Mm-hmm.
And then around middle school, I would go to their Girl Maker Nights from like 4 to 6.
Mm-hmm.
And I will also attend their summer programs. I attended their summer programs since 2017, I think. And then recently, last year, I started participating in Hack the Future. This is my 2nd year this year.
Okay, that's awesome. And so my next question for you, you've been there, so you've been involved for a really long time. How would you say this program has shaped the way you think about yourself and think about your identity?
Well, kind of like Samir said with the logo, confidence in making.
Mm-hmm.
I have become more confident when I create things. Like I'm more into digital art. Like I used to just be into creating things like crafts and things, but after being at Assemble for so long and surrounded by people who also enjoy making things, I figured out what type of medium I've enjoyed the most, and digital art and animation are things that I would actually like to use or have as a career one day.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah, I actually went to, a lot of people don't know this about me, but I went to school for media arts and animation. So definitely something that I'm super interested in, it's super fun, and there's so many different applications, and things you can do in terms of career readiness and stuff like that. So Leo, can you tell us a little bit about how you got involved with the program? And of course, that next question, how has the program shaped, how you think about yourself and your identity?
Sure, of course, yeah. So a little background about me. I'm a high school senior. Been living in Pittsburgh my whole life. And I joined Assemble Hack the Future just 3 years ago. My mom introduced me. She's been doing a bunch of stuff with Assemble. It was my first program at Assemble, and it's been a super fun time so far. Ever since the first year, I've been going ever since, making new friends and making a whole bunch of cool stuff. I just think it was pretty important for my development because, I guess I'm a computer engineering major, at least I'm going to be. So I do a lot of STEM stuff,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of like math and science. But my time at Assemble, all the stuff that we've been taught and stuff that we've made has shown that, anyone can really be a maker. Anyone can do art. It's not limited to just like people who draw or people who paint or whatever. Like making is open to everyone. And I think that's something that Hack the Future has really shown me.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I'm a true believer that like you don't have to be an artist to be creative. I think everyone naturally as human beings, we have that natural urge and want of like creating and doing things with our hands and expressing ourselves. So yeah, I agree with you. So in terms of your, in terms of like an experience you've had, how do you think that like being involved, has, I know you said earlier it wasn't super transformative, but do you have a specific experience that like kind of like, showed you a little bit more about yourself?
Sure. Well, I mean, there's been a couple cool things that we've been a lot of cool things that we've done. Some that stick out. One that sort of branched my interest of STEM and making was last year we had the opportunity to use these 360-degree cameras, like to shoot video. And we got to make these like short films for like I forget what they're called, the 12 principles of change, or something along those lines. And so being able to make something creative for the better, it was really cool. You know, being able to learn new skills and then use those.
Yeah. It's like actually like learning something, but that thing that you're creating actually is something that has impact. You know,
like something that I do can matter and have change.
Right. That's amazing.
Powerful.
That's amazing. So, Samir, and thinking about what Vivica and Leo just said, you know, what for you, what do you think has been like a significant change, like in terms of your involvement as a teaching artist with Assemble?
Yeah, so I jumped into Assemble during the pandemic. So I've been a teaching artist before, just not during the pandemic. And that obviously has changed a lot. I think one of the biggest things for me, I was already doing some of this stuff in my own work, but my co-teacher Evelyn really opened this up, I think, through Hack the Future. And it's just like social emotional learning has been something that's really shaped the way I approach any of my classes now. Evelyn and I talk a lot about how a lot of the feedback from our students, not just from Hack the Future, but from a lot of the programs, is that because of pandemic times, a lot of the kids can't really just hang out or like can't. They're always like kept to a schedule in the virtual world, and you don't get to walk down the hallways and bump into your friend and like catch up or anything like that. So a big part of what we've been doing for a lot of our classes is just starting off with a check-in, and not just like a check-in where you can say, I mean, you can say I'm just okay if you want, but we actually send like an emotion chart that kids can use to pick more specific emotions to expand. And it's been pretty cool. I mean, even for myself, checking in that way has been really important. Just a moment for all of us to like breathe and like really make sure we're all on the same page with each other. And like, I think that's really changed a lot because I've felt like a deeper sense of community with a lot of my students. I don't know if you could tell how excited me and Evelyn were, Vivica and Leo, when y'all had the option to have like a spring break and just like not come to class. But we actually been doing game days at the first of the month because of this reason I told you about, just like we want to be able to hang out. So yeah, they had the option of like not coming because it was spring break, and we're like, let's just not have class. And then most of them were just like, no, it's game day.
It's game day. We need this.
We gotta play. And I mean, they didn't see us cry because they all leave after, and then and so me and Evelyn were just like crying because they all wanted to be there.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. That just hurts so much. It's just like
that's amazing. I think it's so healthy too, because it's like this pandemic, this thing it was very hard for a lot of us. I can only imagine how it's been for like young people who are used to hanging out and being around their friends and stuff like that, and not being able to do that. And so having that space to just say, hey, this is where I'm at today. You know, having those times where they can just chill out and hang out and stuff like that is super important. And so I'm glad you said that, because it actually segues into my next question so perfectly. So I'll ask Vivica, you know, from your perspective, you know, how do you feel you've been supported in terms of like during the pandemic and stuff like that from Assemble?
Have been supported. Well, the check-ins are, like Samir said, are a really good thing. Like sometimes somebody will be having a crappy day and like they might not want to like show their face during our meetings or something. And like if they say like they're having a crappy day, then we'll understand, and it won't be like they're just shielding themselves away from us. And it's like I think it's awesome that we have that sort of connection with the people that we work with and the people we do crafts with. And Assemble is like a really healthy environment that I like a lot.
Do you feel like it helps you learn like having that freedom and that check-in? Does it help you learn better, like that sense of community?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
How about you, Leah? What do you think, how has this pandemic thing been for you in terms of your learning at Assemble?
Well, it's hard because with everything's so different that you had to really adapt to everything that's going on. And the pandemic really does like shut you off from your friends, like you can't see people really. But just having these experiences, being able to go to like tune in every week and like join this call with like my friends, like all these people, my mentors and mentees, are people that I know. Being able to talk with them and be comfortable with them, it like alleviates some stress, which I think is important.
For sure. Now, if there's like, one thing that like you would want the world to know about Assemble, what would that one thing be? Either of you can answer that question.
Yeah, take some time to think.
Totally okay. I was totally freestyling that question. Just came to me.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's just like I talked a little bit earlier. Like, don't be afraid to be creative. I guess don't be held back by what you've been learning in the past. I guess just that's more me telling myself. I guess because all my time with my math classes and stuff, but I get to come to Assemble. I get to have that other part of me, like the left side of my brain. I guess that's creative, and I get to make stuff and create stuff. I want everybody to be able to have that.
Yeah, that's amazing. What about you, Vivica?
This is also a thing I would have told myself when I was younger. That Assemble is a place where like you can't be afraid to be yourself sometimes, because the students and teachers alike, through my experience, have always been so friendly and accepting, and I think that's a great thing to have in a community.
Absolutely. Because we're all different, you know what I mean? But like we all come together to make great things. So no, I really like that. So I have just a few more questions for you all, and again, thank you so much for sharing with us today. So I'll ask Samir. So in a few words, Samir, what does the future of creative learning look like to you?
The future of creative learning, I think, is a space where everyone's actually welcome and has equal access, and is able to just freely express themselves. I think that's the most important thing to me, not to be taken and put into a single category, but really like allowing people to explore and find like their own path. Because I find that, at least in my experience, a lot of education, a lot of like people kind of telling me exactly what to do, or not really having much space to like improvise or like do my thing. So yeah, I just hope to have a space where people can just explore and have the tools to do that.
Yeah, for sure. What about you, Leo? What does the future of creative learning look like?
Yeah, well, I think Samir brought up something really important. That it's got to be open. You can't close anyone off to creative learning. That's not how it works. You gotta just make sure to spread it as far as you can, and everybody should and deserves to be able to take part. I think it's important, just on like a, I guess, logical or technical standpoint, to have it be hands-on. It might just be me, but I'm a very hands-on kind of person. I love learning with like stuff that I can, like doing stuff. I think in the future, it's going to be very tech focused. I think that's unavoidable. Just as the world shifts to technology, we have to adapt to that.
Sure, I definitely agree with you there, especially with learning hands-on. It's like doing it is like the best way to like learn something. You know what I mean? It's
100%.
for me, at least, personally speaking. So, what about you, Vivica? What does the future creative learning look like to you in your own words?
Kind of like what Leo said, being hands-on with things is an important thing, well, to me.
Mm-hmm.
And also like working in groups or working in a community and being connected with people who have similar interests and aspirations. I think that's what creative learning will be like in the future.
Amazing. Yeah, I agree. So I'm thinking about like, we're in this like virtual world now, everything's online and all that, and hypothetically speaking, I mean, I'm keeping my fingers crossed, but let's say, things do open up. Like what is something, that you all are like looking forward to, in terms of like getting back to some semblance of normalcy? And that's open to anyone to answer.
Just getting to be outside without like feeling guilty. I don't know. Like just I mean, when before the pandemic, I had like this routine that I was comfortable with, where like after school I would go out with my friends, so go to the library or go to McDonald's, and just have fun. Be very social in this active space with tons of people in it. I miss that, and it'll be good to get back to it.
Absolutely. What about you, Vivica?
Could you repeat the question, please? Sorry.
No, you're fine. I was saying, if once we kind of like get out of this like pandemic thing and we start to kind of have a little more freedom, what are some things that that you're looking forward to being able to do?
Oh, before the pandemic, I also had like a lot of after school activities that happened outside of the house. Like I was more active and more social with a lot of friends from school and like middle school and things. And I can't wait to like hang out with them again because I miss them a lot. And yeah.
Cool. Last but not least.
Yeah, honestly, I think the thing I'm missing most of all is dancing with my friends.
Dancing.
Yeah, it's nothing like having all of your friends around you just getting funky.
Right. That's always a good time. That's amazing. Yeah. Well, thank you all for sharing. But before we get off, I have one more question, and it's a very simple question. So, in thinking about your answer around the future of creative learning, what's one thing that you hope for? Out just in terms of like learning, if that makes sense.
I hope that we would learn about it, like the true history that like happens. Yeah, I don't want like to be honest any more of like this like whitewashed telling of things. I don't know. I just get a little bit more about myself. I studied music conservatory like style for a while, and it's a real bummer to never hear about like any black or brown like composers. When that I knew that like a lot of the music that these other composers were writing were taken from a lot of these composers or like other cultures. So I would like to like actually learn an accurate history. I would hope that's something that people can learn in the future.
I feel like that's something that we all like deserve, right? It's like now that like, we know, like, we America in general, like it's like we've had a really it's been a rough history, not very positive, and it's like at this point, it's like people deserve to know, like, the contributions of like black and brown people, the contributions of LGBTQ, people. Like I think that's very important right now, so I agree with you there. How about you, Leah? What's one thing that you hope for?
Um, I would say like accessibility, because I
Mm,
feel like it's really hard to get this out, because I feel like so much of this new information is like on the internet. Um, and if you're not in like a place with access to the internet, or like a
mm,
place with access to this information, you wouldn't, you wouldn't be able to experience all the important aspects of creative learning.
mm.
Um, so just like getting it out there, like really beyond just like big cities or just like America.
Agreed. Agreed. All right. What about you, Vivica? What do you hope for?
This is a little far-fetched, I guess, but like
Okay. Hey, I love bold ideas.
since we've been like stuck in our homes for like the past year-ish, and like a lot of people are going to school and coming back home and having hybrid classes, I think it would be awesome if like there was more like learning based on connection to the community, like the city or like even the state you live in, like maybe not field trips, but like have a class outside in the schoolyard, or instead of eating lunch inside, you ate lunch outside, or have a history class about a famous person who died in the cemetery across from a symbol. I don't know. I just think it would be awesome to not always be stuck inside.
Mm. Yeah, that's a really good point. I actually had a conversation with um, one of my coworkers here at Level Up, and we were kind of talking about, you know, what how learning can really change. And he was like, what if we can take a group of people and we all go hiking, right? And as we're hiking, we have cameras with us, and we're photographing the environment, and we're learning how to use this camera. And then maybe we stop and sit down and we drink some tea, and then we have maybe somebody from Dobra or Bantha Tea Bar explain the recipe of this tea and where this tea comes from, the medicinal properties of that tea. And we're hiking through, he called it urban hiking. So we're hiking through these communities, we're taking pictures, we're conversating with people in the community, and learning about the surroundings, learning about the different historical buildings, while also camaraderizing with each other. And I was like, man, that is so dope. I forget what he coined. We coined it as it was like something like deliberate outdoor. I forget. It was like deliberate outdoor activities for community engagement. Something long and jargony, but I think like something that shift of environment, that can switch something on in the mind. And so I think that's a really, really cool idea. Like the creative learning channel said, that is a fantastic idea. So definitely. Sorry, my phone went off. Well, anyway, so those are all the questions I have. I want to take this time. Do you guys have any questions for me? Yeah.
Sure. Just like, what do you think about creative learning? What's been your journey with it?
Um, my journey. So my biggest thing is like I like, so at Level Up, at least, it's like my goal is to help people see their better selves, or to see their best selves. And I truly believe, like, through creating, through expressing yourself, you can find yourself. It's like everything about what makes me me is, it comes purely from my ability to share my stories through creative arts. You know what I mean? And so I try to give that back to young people, to show them, like, hey, this is a way to overcome things in your mind, right? And that can be applied to life. It's like, yeah, you might be learning this dance step, and you're like, I can't get it. And I'm like, hey, listen, you have to first believe that you can, and it'll click. It's making those connections, and then out of nowhere, they're just like, oh, I get it, right? And that can be applied to a challenge that you have in life. It's like, oh man, I just can't, seem to do well in this one class in school. And it's like, if you realize that first, you got to change your mind, then things can happen for you. And so I kind of have that philosophy in terms of, my teaching and just what I want students to get out of it. But yeah, I do, in terms of the future of creative learning, 100% agree with both you, Leo, and Samir on accessibility and history. I think history is so important. Like I teach what's called funk styles or popping, and I'm always talking about like the Electric Boogaloo's and Soul Train, like telling them all the OG poppers and where it comes from and why it happened and stuff like that. And like my students look at me like, why are you telling me this? And it's like, well, you won't really appreciate what you're learning if you don't know where it comes from, the root of it, And so, and I do think like, yeah, everybody should have equal access to creative learning, to creative arts. I think it should be more so integrated into how we educate. I think it's really important because it helps to build the whole self. You know what I mean? I think sometimes education can be, here's this thing, get it in your head, now regurgitate it back to me. But it has nothing to do with the person, right? And so I think creative learning, it's all about who we are as individuals and who we are as individuals when we come together, and I think that's where the magic happens. So that's my spiel.
I wish I could take classes like that in school. Feels like everything I'm doing right now is just like absorb the information and then put it on a test, but it doesn't have like the substance behind it like you talk about,
Right. Yeah, for sure. Well, I don't want to keep you guys too long, so I do want to say thank you. Thank you for that question. That was a very awesome question, and I appreciate it. I appreciate the opportunity to be able to share a little bit about myself. So thank you very much.
That's great to hear.
Absolutely. But Samir, Vivica, Leo, thank you so much for joining us today on episode 3 of the Creative Learning Podcast. And for all the folks out there who are watching and listening, we want to say thank you very much for joining us. And we will be back hopefully in a few weeks with another episode. See you later, everyone.
All right. Thanks. It's a great
Thank
time.
you for having us.
No problem.